The data behind a Garanda animal was first collected nearly 40 years ago. Today, David Reed collects fat scans, muscle scans and IMF scans on each animal. This scanning information, combined with weight data, scrotal and flight time, is coordinated to provide a highly effective estimate of the animal's genetic potential. And what changes have we seen over time?
I measure how much fat and how much eye muscle and intramuscular fat cattle have got. And by doing that, you can compare individual animals to each other and select on that data and breed the animal that you require to suit your market. The way we're doing them today is just measuring the whole group of animals and trying to get some variation so we can select on that and work out what sire lines are doing and what your cow lines are doing and what your herd overall, which direction you're heading. At the sale, people go there looking for an animal that's been fed and compare one lot to another. And as long as they're within one draft of bulls, they can select an animal that's an easier doing animal if they wish, or a higher IMF animal. And they like sometimes to see it when it comes out in feed because their bullocks are fed in feedlots, and it's quite a good comparison, really.
So this is 30 years this year since you've been coming here to Garanda and scanning for data. Has anything changed at Garanda in 30 years?
Yeah, not really, Pete. There's been a bit of management change, obviously, and some structural change in the setup, but not a lot. The yards are still similar and still work the same, and the cattle are still as quiet as they were when I first started coming here. And really, the hospitality's good. Meryl's still in the kitchen, and everything's pretty good.
The actual scanning is very similar, though, isn't it, to what we were doing 30 years ago?
Yeah,
maybe IMF.
Yeah, we have included IMF, but the traits we're measuring are still similar. And in that time, I suppose we've seen some change. We've gone from, well, they were actually scanning before I started at Garanda. They were the first herd in Queensland to get into it. They started because they wanted to get a heavier carcass and better yield in their cattle when they needed it back in the 90s. And possibly a lot of people went a bit far down in that direction. And I've seen this herd go a lot leaner for a while, and now you've increased the fat on the cattle. And I think you've maintained a lot of your carcass attributes and increased the fat. Environment makes such an impact in the whole equation as well. But generally speaking, I believe the animals have maintained a bit extra cover in the last few years than they had, and the IMF seems, as a raw measurement, to have increased over the last 10 years or so.
But the tools you're using, you're saying we're getting to the limit of their capacity for measuring IMF.
Yeah, well, the high end of the cattle have reached the capacity of the machinery, and in the really high marbling cattle, we're nowhere near the capacity. And we're only just scraping at the edges of the really high marbling cattle. So it's technology that they haven't put a lot of money into and probably haven't changed a lot over the years. I think we'll be stuck on that. I think there's other avenues now. They're doing a lot of measurements in carcasses and relating them back genetically to siblings. And I think that just that photographing carcasses in abattoirs, that dead measurements, it's a perfect measurement, whereas ours can be a bit related to environment and conditions on the day, whereas it's an actual measurement. It might be the way to go going forward with the high end of marbling, that's for sure.
So you still look young and fit. You can do a good solid day's work here. You don't have any plans to retire in the near future?
Oh, Pete, if I retired, I'd have to go and work for a living, and I don't think I'm prepared to do that.
You're too social, David. I reckon you'd miss all the people and
yeah, I probably would. Yeah. I think I would, yes.
Right, David Reed, thank you very much.
No worries. Thanks, Pete. All the best.
Thank you.